Joe Rogan versus vegan Dr. Doom, the War of the Leaf. It was a Tuesday, prime podcasting day, and Joe Rogan was deep into a monologue about elk meat, cold plunges, and whether the moon was emotionally intelligent. Everything was normal in his studio until the emergency elk siren blared from the corner. Yes, Joe had an elk emergency alarm. He froze mid-sentence and stared at the flashing red light labeled Vegan Threat. Jamie, his trusty producer, peeked in from behind a curtain. Joe? We've got a situation." Seconds later, a green-cloaked figure levitated through the studio skylight, dramatically scattering kale chips as he descended. "Joe Rogan!" the figure boomed. "Your reign of meat-fueled madness ends today!" Joe squinted. "Dr. Doom, why do you smell like essential oils and quinoa?" "I am no longer Dr. Doom," the villain declared. "I am Dr. Bloom, protector of the planet, scourge of barbecue culture, and the first sovereign ruler of the Republic of Calavania." Joe set his coffee down slowly. "You've gone vegan?" "Plant-based and proud," Bloom snapped. "I have evolved past the need for violence, unless it's against people who eat jerky." Joe looked at Jamie, then back at Doom Bloom. "So let me get this straight. You broke into my studio, destroyed my ceiling, and threatened me because I like steak? Because you are the high priest of protein, the monarch of meat, the carnivore cultist." Dr. Bloom's eyes glowed with righteous tofu-powered rage. "And because you keep mocking almond milk, it has feelings, Joe." Joe stood up and cracked his knuckles. "Buddy, I don't care what you eat, but if you try to cancel elk meat, we've got a problem." The tension thickened like an overcooked lentil stew. Without warning, Dr. Bloom pulled out a glowing green orb, the Kale Stone, an ancient artifact said to be infused with the energy of 1,000 angry Whole Foods employees. "I challenge you," Bloom growled, "to the Leaf Gauntlet, a 3-part trial of strength, intelligence, and Instagram-worthy smoothie bowls." Joe raised an eyebrow. "Can I at least bring my kettlebells?" "Only if they're ethically sourced," Bloom hissed. Round 1, physical trial. In a dusty arena, which looked suspiciously like Joe's backyard, the two faced off in a series of feats of strength: rope climbing, elk deadlifting, and a brutal tofu toss. Joe crushed the rope climb while yelling motivational things like, "Elk meat powers the soul." Dr. Bloom retaliated by bench pressing a kombucha keg and screaming, "No animals were harmed in the making of my muscles." They were evenly matched until the tofu toss. Joe hurled his tofu so hard it broke the sound barrier, ricocheted off a pine tree, and flattened Bloom's Tesla. "That was a model plaid," Bloom cried. "Should have gotten the Cybertruck," Joe shrugged. Round 2, intelligence trial. Back in the studio, Bloom whipped out a vegan chessboard. All the pawns were chia seeds, while Joe prepared by rubbing CBD oil on his temples. For 2 tense hours, they debated topics like, is grass-fed beef more ethical if you thank the cow before eating it? Can mushrooms experience sadness? Do protein shakes have souls? Joe held his own with bizarre logic and elk metaphors, while Bloom countered every point with quotes from ancient vegan scrolls, also known as Reddit threads. They reached a stalemate when Joe asked, if tofu is so ethical, why does it taste like betrayal? Round 3, smoothie bowl face-off. For the final round, both competitors had to craft a smoothie bowl so inspiring, so spiritually nutrient-dense, that it could bring a yoga instructor to tears. Bloom went all out, ace-high base, golden spirulina dust, hand-picked goji berries blessed by moonlight and arranged in the shape of a hummingbird. Joe, however, dumped a raw egg, elk protein powder, and half a banana into a blender. It exploded violently. "Behold," he shouted, lifting a frothy, chaotic, chunky mess. "The primal bowl." A hummingbird flew by, took one whiff of Bloom's bowl, and died dramatically from pretentiousness. Joe's smoothie gurgled like a sentient being, possibly alive, definitely angry. "I think mine achieved sentience," Joe whispered proudly. Dr. Bloom recoiled. "Your smoothie is unethical. You blended its soul." "Exactly," Joe smirked. "It chose the elk path." Final showdown. Unable to accept defeat, Bloom unleashed his final move, the avocado storm, a hurricane of guacamole and righteous fury. Joe dodged it by jumping into a cold plunge tank, emerging moments later as the frozen carnivore, muscles glistening, beard steaming with defiance. With a mighty roar, he tackled Bloom into a pile of vegan cookbooks, then locked him in a chokehold made entirely of bacon grease. "Yield!" Joe grunted. "Never!" Bloom cried, coughing on an errant chia seed. Just then, Jamie rolled in a blender. "Guys, smoothie peace treaty?" Joe and Bloom froze. Slowly, tentatively, they nodded and each poured their respective bowls into the blender. It erupted in light. Rainbows exploded. A vegan elk descended from the sky and blessed them both. Joe looked at Bloom. "Truce?" Bloom sighed. "Only if I can come on the podcast to talk about oat milk diplomacy." Joe extended a hand. "Deal, but you're not bringing quinoa. It's banned here." And thus ended the legendary battle between carnivore and vegan, proving once and for all that while they might disagree on diets, both Joe Rogan and Dr. Bloom could agree on one thing. Nobody likes lukewarm almond milk. End.